She said he's so sweet, I wanna lick the rapper. And she lets me like a lollipop.
My name is Dave Nygaard. I've been tattooing for a little under 10 years. Traditionally, tattoo apprenticeships are made to try to get people to not be tattooers. The first tattoo I ever did was on myself, and it was a death's head moth. But yeah, so basically I was sitting there and I was shaking because I was nervous and petrified, and I had like 7 dudes around me screaming at me the entire time about how terrible I was doing and laughing at me, and you know, it was a nightmare. But it was cool. You know, I did a good tattoo. Yeah. It was cool. They took pictures of me. I was like literally drenched in sweat. It was horrible. Yeah, you're all like shaking. Everybody starts laughing at you. It's interesting. What I like about getting tattooed is the fact that I can get whatever I want, whenever I want, regardless of anybody. Tattooing's the last bastion of American freedom. I got polka dots and all types of weird stuff, and they all make me happy, and I don't regret any of them because they don't have anything to do with anybody but me. I've made friends of mine tattoo me and my wife, and I like getting tattoos that like my kids drew. I think it's purer. I think it's more pure. Like I think that I like drawing stuff that's really pretty and making people, and like I try to make it as perfect as possible. For myself, I think that like stuff that kids drew is just the coolest stuff ever. Like I got this. It's called Fish with Legs. My daughter, who's like 9, drew it in my sketchbook, and I don't think that it gets any cooler. I don't think it gets any cooler because there's no ego involved. Nobody's trying to impress anybody, and it's totally pure. There's no collective experience of seeing art and things you like, things you're trying to emulate subconsciously. It's just pure art for nobody but that person, and that's why I like getting stuff like that. I wanted to tattoo since I was a little kid. I have an uncle who's a really well-known tattooer. He's been tattooing a really long time. He's my dad's brother. My dad is a big badass guy. He's covered in tattoos. And my uncle was like a super cool, you know, motorcycle, long hair, covered in tattoos guy. And I thought he was the coolest guy ever. And I drew since I'm younger than I can remember. And ever since I was a little kid, I wanted to tattoo. I was surprised when I got into this business that a lot of people don't draw and aren't artists. I thought that was weird. I don't know why someone would want to get into a business like this if they didn't already have a love and appreciation for art. Not like that's good or bad, it was just intriguing to me. I think now, more than ever, there's a lot more people that are artistically inclined, and I think that's benefited the industry a lot. And I think that the TV shows have hurt the industry a lot. I think there's a lot of misinformation, and I think that it's just given an unnecessary and skewed impression on what tattooing is about and what goes on. I think those people are sellouts, and I think they're all assholes. Just like with any TV, I just think that you obviously lose out on any integrity or quality of any kind, and I think that it panders to the lowest common denominator. And just like anything else, I find that that's very detrimental to the purity of what goes on. In the small amount of time that I've been tattooing, I've watched a large paradigm shift where, you know, there's a lot of media influence on people. So it's super weird. It's weird to me to see people all want to get something that they never wanted before, but especially in the vein of like finger tattoos or, you know, behind your ear or things that are just going to look like shit in a few years. And I tell people all that stuff, and then at the end of the day, my job is to give them what they want. So what I try to do is educate them on what the tattoo is going to look like down the road, the possibilities of what it could affect them in their lives, and then if they're super ardent about doing it, then I do it. There's a certain size of stuff, like lettering, that you should do for the longevity of tattoos. And that's a big thing in the tattoo community, how much longevity plays into what you're doing. Because there's a tattoo that I could do on you right now that'll look really cool, and then in 5 years it'll be completely illegible, and there's a lot of gray area in between that, you know what I mean? So like, other than, and that's why you have to go to a professional tattooer, because generally you should be able to go to a tattooer and express to them what you want, and what they produce should already follow all the rules of what the body is going to do to it. Just like oil painting, just like watercolors, they're all able to represent something, but they have their own limitations. Tattoos, being in the body, has their own limitations. It's not about our opinion on what looks good or not. The body itself just isn't able to substantiate certain types of things for a long period of time. Where your tattoos are going, you know, you have 7 layers of skin, you got your dermis and your epidermis. There's an enzyme that goes to that ink in between those 2 layers that keeps that ink there. That's why ink doesn't just spread out. Like when you get glass in your body's trying to reject it. For some reason, these enzymes keep that ink there, and that's why you're able to get clean lines. However, you take in, you know, how your elasticity is going to fall down over time. Obviously, you're going to get old, you're going to get wrinkly, you're going to get saggy, so you can't put things that close together. Not only that, but when you're just doing a tattoo, you're seeing that on the top of the skin. But in reality, it's going to be under the layer of skin that has the melanin in it. So for example, if you have a darker pigmented person, you can't put colors in them that they're darker than. Granted, initially, you'll be able to see it. Say you had a very dark skinned person and I put a bunch of yellow in them, right then you might be able to see it because you're essentially looking at open pores filled with yellow ink. But in 2 weeks, when that skin heals over and that skin contains the melanin in it, that skin is going to be above that. It's a translucent medium. You're not going to be able to see that color if the person's darker than it. So it's just limitations like that as far as, you know, what is really going to be visible and for how long it's going to be visible. You know what I mean? And there's a lot of different factors that come into that. The whole idea is that I'm a professional and you're supposed to be able to come to me and get what you want, but that's not going to be ruined. My whole job is to educate you on what we're able to do. So to answer your question, you come, whatever that particular set of circumstances are, it's my responsibility as a professional to be able to evaluate that particular set of circumstances with your design and filter out the things that are going to be able to get you what you want in a sustainable fashion. Tattooing's always been popular. People have always appreciated it. I think that there just might have been a particular stigma attached to it, like it was for criminals or whatever. And now I think the only difference is that more people recognize that it's really, I mean, they're not that fucking important. They're pictures. It's really, how important could it possibly be? It doesn't have anything to do with who you are as a human being.